I just did a video on the way to Casablanca, on the way to Morocco, about how easy traveling was. And it was just so easy to exchange the money. Well, then on the way home, I missed my flight. And listen to this next little video about that. I'm sitting actually the next day when I got my flight after I slept on the bench in an Italian restaurant in the Casablanca airport. Which, you know, wasn't that bad when you consider what other people have to go through in life. If that's the worst thing that I went through last week, how dare I even complain about it? But I do want to share with you that experience in this next video that you're going to be able to see right now. It's kind of soothing, so if you want to just listen to it before you go to bed, it might put you to sleep. But I thought it was pretty good, so here you go. Last night was the first flight I've ever missed, and I've flown a lot, and I'm in Casablanca. And I'm gonna start by telling you a positive and a negative. And if I had talked to you last night when I missed my flight at 4 p.m., I would have been crying probably. I would have been so stressed out. But I'm gonna tell you a story. My positive is gonna start off, and then the end is gonna be a negative. But then through it all, you're gonna hear what I would do different. And then you're gonna gain some travel wisdom from my story. Well, this is my little scarf, and I bought it to take to the Sahara Desert. I have a white one and a brown one. I will never not travel without a lightweight scarf, and I'll tell you why. First, in Morocco, I was able to use the scarf as like a turban to block the wind when I was in the Sahara Desert. But this scarf has been to keep me warm when it got really cold at night. This scarf, when I had to sleep in the airport last night, all night long, not just for a couple hours, I was sleeping in a restaurant in a booth for 8 hours, blocked the beaming bright lights out of my eyes. I used it as an eye mask, which you could pack an eye mask too, but this can be used as eye protection. This scarf can be used as a shawl over your shoulders, especially if you are in an area, or if you, oh my gosh, this scarf has been so versatile. You can use it as a belt. So traveling, I will always use this. Okay, so fashion tip done. Positive, fun little fact about travel, scarf, great. Missing your plane with Air Maroc. I booked a round-trip ticket from Casablanca, knowing that my trip ended in Marrakesh, and I thought I could easily get like, I don't know, like a bus or a Lyft or a taxi from Marrakesh to Casablanca, but I realized after I got here that it was much further away and that it would be difficult. My friend had a flight from Marrakesh to Casablanca, so I added on a flight at the beginning of the week to get with her from Marrakesh to Casablanca. Now we both had an hour. We would arrive at Casablanca at 3-ish, and then have 1 hour before our next flight took off. I think hers was leaving at 3:55 and mine was leaving at 4. So I thought, okay, you'll get in, you'll get through didn't think I had to go through the whole process again of everything all over again. But what I found out, when you do the code sharing with American and Air Maroc, it is a little bit more challenging. They don't always have all of your information easily available to them. It seemed like it was a little more challenging. When I went to Marrakesh to get my ticket, I asked if they could ticket me the whole way through, and they can't, which makes sense because they could only ticket me to Casablanca. So I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get reticketed when I get to Casablanca. I got to Casablanca, the flight was super easy. When I got shuttled in, they take you through security all over again, which is something I'm not used to, which I guess maybe in international travel, they do that. But when I looked, they said specifically in Morocco, they do check your documents more frequently. When I checked on ChatGPT, which ChatGPT has kind of been a lifesaver for me this past night. I'll tell you about that too in a minute. So I get all the way shuffled in. I get off the airplane at Marrakesh, get on the bus, get shuffled into where the international travel is, there's a desk there where you can ticket yourself, where you can get ticketed, and then the security line was right there. So I walked over to the ticket line and saw a woman praying behind the ticket line. I thought, okay, well, when she's done praying, she'll ticket me. Then I can just take my ticket through security. The security line was empty. I was like, this is perfect for me. I'm waiting for her to finish praying. Well, when she stood up and she was done praying, I realized she was one of the I call them housekeepers, staff that cleaned, the cleaning staff. She wasn't a ticketing person. She was just using that space. There was nobody at the ticket booth. So I panicked a little bit because there was nowhere to go. There was nowhere to go, but there was a door that said domestic flights and the door that said international flights, which I was in the international flight door, no ticket person there. Security line, jumped in the security line. At that point though, just before I jumped in the security line, I have to tell you this because this is where my heart pounded. A rush of people came in. The whole security line filled up in that time that I was waiting for her to finish praying. It went from being completely empty, where I could get through easily, my friend already went through, to a big rush of people. The housekeeper pointed to the back of the line. She kept pointing, well, housekeeper, janitorial staff, kept pointing for me to get in the back of the security line. So I got into the security line and I'm thinking, should I button to the front? What should I do? What do I do? I need to go to the security officer. I'd already asked the security officer a question. He knew no English at all. So a man in a suit comes out and he said, anybody flying to JFK? And he spoke very good English. I raised my hand because my endpoint was JFK with a stopover in Washington. Well, when he looked at, I told him I needed a ticket. He got real frustrated, angry at me. He yelled, he was very aggressive and he yelled something. And he was frustrated with me. He said, why didn't you do your ticket online? I said, because when I tried, it wouldn't let me do my ticket online. It told me I had to go get ticketed at the front. It actually said you have to get ticketed at the airline of your first whatever ticket. It told me multiple times that. So I really thought I was just gonna walk up to the ticket line that was right there and get the ticket. Little did I know that I would have to go all the way across the airport to get ticketed downstairs at the front, and I couldn't get ticketed there. Well, he then was really frustrated and angry, and I felt like whatever he was going through, he was really mad. He was yelling. He threw such a fit that the line, a couple women were really upset with him, and they said it after he walked away. Then he came back to me. He told me to go through security. I started going through security, got through security. He runs over, takes me to the ticket line, to the ticket booth area, and he proceeds to try to help me get a ticket. And then he says, we both look at our watches at this point. It's like 4:35. It's too late. The plane's gone. Sorry, it's 3:35. It's boarding and leaving. I hadn't gotten my ticket. I hadn't gone through security. So what I did then was I ended up, he just looked at me and he said, it's too late. He just said, it's too late. You need to go down to the agency or the ticket information booth downstairs, which was so far away. It was all the way across the airport. And I realized if I had come in from when I got off the flight to Marrakesh and I had went down to the ticket line to get my ticket and I had done everything without delay, the way that everything was spaced out, I still would have missed that flight. I never would have been able to get on that flight with that 1 hour of time, which actually might have been a little less than 1 hour because the flight from Marrakesh to Casablanca was a little bit delayed, not much, but a little bit, enough that it gave me less than an hour to do all that. So I guess my lesson is, especially if you're using American Airlines and you're getting like that code sharing and you're getting like an Air Maroc ticket through American, realize I think maybe if I had gotten the Air Maroc app, maybe I could have somehow finagled to go online with the Air Maroc app and use the information I had from my American Airlines process to get the Air Maroc done online. I don't know. I don't know about that. I didn't even know that was an option until I thought about it more and more. I was just, because of course I had all night to think about this. It is a horrible feeling, missing a flight by yourself. My friend's gone. She was gone to Miami. She was already on her flight. 2 other people I was traveling with were gone, and I was alone in the airport in Casablanca. And I'll tell you something, I'm not mad. I mean, I feel like I should have done things a little better. I feel like I could have been better about just a lot of little things. I'm trying to think of how I could have done it better. There's a lot of ways I could have done it better. Maybe I could have just, I don't know. I tried to get, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's done. What's done is done. I missed the flight. So I could have gotten a hotel 10 minutes away, and I thought about it. And I asked the girl at the ticket booth, we were talking, because I told her that I wasn't going to be able to be there that evening, that I wasn't going to be able to get the flight. I knew I had to fly the next day. I already knew there were no flights that evening. So she said, there's a hotel 10 minutes away, but please be very careful with the taxi drivers. They might try to swindle you. And she told me a lot of little things about just to be careful with the taxi drivers. And I had already learned this, you know, there's certain things they might not turn their dial on. I mean, you're alone in a country and you're a woman, and I didn't have a hotel. I did know there was a hotel 10 minutes away. 2 people told me. So I thought, well, maybe I'll get a hotel. But then I knew I wanted to be back here at like literally to get my flight in the morning. So I didn't want to be, I didn't want to go through that whole process of getting back to the airport like before sunrise in Casablanca. I've been into Casablanca. I know what Casablanca is like. I was there the first 2 days. I love Casablanca, but I didn't necessarily want to navigate that city alone. And I know people do, but I didn't want to. So I decided to stay in the airport. The worst part was I hadn't gone through security, so I couldn't get up to any lounges. I couldn't, even if the lounges were only open till midnight, I couldn't get into a lounge. So I was down in the common area. So I went to the little pizza place. I can tell you, ChatGPT, I don't use it as much as I should because there's a lot of features that are really great with it. I looked in ChatGPT and just told it my situation, and it told me the best options for me. It told me all the options I had to sleep. And then it just told me, considering all the things that I wanted, what my best options were. And it did say to actually sleep in the airport and to stay in the little restaurant I was in until midnight. And then at midnight, if they kicked you out at midnight, to go into the benches that are right across from the ticket booth and just sleep there. Well, I ended up sleeping in the restaurant all night. They didn't kick us out at midnight. They turned all the lights off at 11:30. For like an hour, which was really weird. I think it's because the girls were leaving that actually worked the counter. Maybe they're trying to give like a definitive that it was closing. There were also some men working on hanging a sign, so I think they kept everything a little bit more open because the men were hanging a sign. But then the worst part was at 1 a.m. they turned all the lights back on, real bright in the restaurant. So even though the restaurant's closed, all the bright lights were on. Well, I just want to tell you, always wear your passport on you. I wear my passport on like this little belt here, and then I have this little bag which has like my cell phone and things strapped on me. So I'm like a big like Sherpa. I have everything like attached to me. I carry everything like hanging on me. And then I have a backpack that I actually laid on my backpack and made that my pillow on a bench seat. That way I knew that that was safe. It was under my back. And then the other thing that I did was I tied a strap from my backpack to my carry-on because I knew I tried to keep my hand on my carry-on when I fell asleep, but I knew when I fell asleep I wasn't going to always be touching my carry-on because I move around a little bit. So I did fall asleep. I fell into maybe like a couple times a little bit of a deep sleep, which they say you're not supposed to, but I did. But I had everything like touching my body. I had everything strapped to me in some way, shape, or form. And I was laying in a bench seat in a restaurant with literally one other young woman was across the way, but it was all these single men who were doing the same thing that I did. And they didn't get there. Like a lot of the restaurant filled up like later. I was surprised. Like all of a sudden I woke up and right across another bench seat, there's a man sleeping next to me. It was hysterical. All these people just trying desperately to sleep and all trying to cover their eyes. Some like this, some were like putting their jackets in. So everybody was trying to cover their eyes. So that's why my little positive thing is this. Ooh, you have to cover your eyes with this when you try to sleep in the airport, and this will be my travel buddy forever. Now I have a white one and a brown one, And I got really lightweight ones too. I don't have heavy ones. So these are great for travel. That's my positive tip through this whole thing. Again, last night, if I had done this video last night, I would have been crying. I would have been sitting in a restaurant. It probably would have been a lot more exciting for you. But the travel tip overall is give yourself, when you're switching flights, especially in countries that you're not familiar with, that maybe you don't speak the language, give yourself a good hour between transfers if you can. Now, this flight today is going from Casablanca to Paris to Philadelphia. So I already know and I made sure when I was booking the flight with American, I called American on the phone to get them to help me figure out which flight to do today, because there were so many. And at first, she had me going all over the place and keep asking them to look, because she kept trying to give me flights that she thought I wanted to Washington, to JFK. And they were like bouncing all over the world. And then the worst thing was there were like just weird layovers. And then there was like, they were going for like all the way until tomorrow even. But I kept asking her, giving her other options. And she kept, for some reason, thinking I had to go to JFK. I'm like, no, I can go to Philadelphia. So I kept talking to her, talking to the airline person, and just saying, can you just try one more time to find this kind of flight? Can you try to find this kind of flight? Can you try to find this? How about if we throw this into there? I even tried to get creative with different airlines. Like, you know, I have Newark, I have New York, I have JFK, I have LaGuardia, I have all these different airlines that I thought if I could get into any of them, I'll rent a car and drive home. I don't mind driving 3 hours, whatever. So I learned a lot yesterday and last night. I slept in an airport that didn't have a hotel, an airport restaurant that was open, that was cozy. It just had a pizza place that I sat in. They didn't have any TVs on, which are entertaining. I had to entertain myself, which is fine. I read a little. I was surprised. I edited some pictures, just did some silly stuff. I have no difficulty entertaining myself. But overall, I hope you learned from my mistake. My mistake was and I just want to tell you to be careful when you do the code sharing with The other thing, she almost only was going to give me a ticket to Paris. And I said, please, can you ticket me all the way through to Philly? And the girl at Air Maroc was confused because I had gotten my ticket from American. And at first she said, I can only do you to Paris. I was panicking. I was imagining the same thing happening in Paris, where I'm running around all over the place, getting reticketed, going through security. Finally, she looked at the ticket and she saw it. And she said, oh, look. And down there it did say to Paris and then from Paris to Philly. So I think when you're code sharing with airlines, and I'm not calling out Air Maroc or even American, because I love American. I really have had a good experience for me with American Airlines. The things that I've had go wrong, I fly a lot. If I just focus on what goes wrong, it would be not fair, because there's so many things that go right about it. But I just wanted to share with you, be a little bit more diligent, do your due diligence to see if you can get ticketed ahead of time online. I think that is the smartest way to go. And if you have an American and you go to the American app and it tells you that you have to go to the front desk, maybe go a little further. Maybe get the Air Maroc app or whatever code flight sharing you're doing, and try to, on that app, get ticketed if you can. I think that would be the smart thing to do, and I think that's what I wish that I did differently. The interesting thing is, when I did at 4 a.m. get in line, I was business class. That's another thing. This is another tip about American Airlines. I just found out in 2025, you no longer build miles for economy flights. It has to be higher than economy for you to build any miles. So I build my miles a lot on a credit card now, because when I fly for work, I do economy, because that's what we're supposed to do. So this is what I wanted to tell you. When you fly business class, I literally went through the line. I was the only person. Business class in Casablanca is very separate from everything else. I went from feeling like the least important person sleeping like wherever I could, very uncomfortable, to flying through business class, getting into the lounge and getting a cappuccino. And now I have this whole shopping area, and I have 2 hours before my flight takes off. So I am going to go find the gate and go through security. Actually, I'm sorry, I went through security already. Oh my gosh, I went through everything because I was the only person to go through the business class security line. It blew my mind. It blew my mind because the line in economy was so long. And because I went business class, I just got booted through. And again, I went from being crying last night in the airport lobby to waking up this morning and being fortunate enough to be able to get this little cappuccino at the lounge, go through the shopping area, go find my gate, and now I'll be on a flight to Paris where I have a 2-hour layover. So hopefully the Paris airport will be nice. And then after that, I fly to Philly where I have I think I'm on the plane for like almost 8 hours to go to Philly. And then I drive home an hour and a half. So I have a lot of travel ahead of me. I won't be home till very late, but I feel very fortunate, and I feel very fortunate. I slept in the airport last night, but it humbled me, I'll tell you that much, because I just think about people that are in much worse situations than me, and if I thought last night was bad, no, it wasn't bad at all. It was an experience, and it's over now, and hopefully I was able to share with you something that you can learn from my experience. Thank you.